Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is the June 14th, 2023 regular meeting of the Bronxville Planning Board. We have a relatively short agenda tonight for a change. One principal item, but first, let's bring the meeting to order, and just to note that we have six members here. So for tonight, everyone here except for Ms. Marshall, I apologize, but please participate as you usually do, but your vote won't be counting tonight, so hopefully next time. So first item on the agenda is the minutes from the May 10th, 2023 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at those? Would someone like to make a motion to approve those minutes? Moved. Mr. Goldman? Any second? Ms. Myers? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. Okay. 205 White Plains Road. Adamo, would you like to just walk us through developments since last meeting, and so we're all on the same page and up to speed? Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, where we left off at the last meeting, basically what we did was update some additional aesthetics on the elevation according to the RPRC meeting prior to last week. There's some updates to the landscaping plan, additional landscaping and screening on the left-hand side of the property, aesthetics of the elevation. We added some detailed sections. I think it was, some minor stuff that maybe is not as visible, shutters, corbels, little items basically sort of mapped out on that 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And obviously since last meeting, RPRC has reviewed and, the DRC has reviewed, and that's another town, and approved the overall architectural, aesthetics of the home. And since that, nothing else has really changed, but we're here and obviously to look at and answer additional questions and comments and thoughts.
Thank you. One thing I noticed when I was looking at the latest version was the landscape plan, I think, was the first document after that, that list of open items and the responses. Can we just make clear that yes, so that's the landscape plan that is responsive to all the collective comments so far.
Yes.
The drawings themselves were not, it didn't look like they were updated to reflect that landscape plan.
They do reflect that landscape plan, but they were updated from the last meeting. As I mentioned, minor stuff that maybe is not as noticeable. Some little aesthetic things on the elevations, like I said, additional sections, pictures of the walkway, back patio, what that's going to look like. Those sort of things are on the plans themselves.
Okay, so this landscape plan, this is the actual landscape plan.
Totally. Oh yes, yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Our site plan, sometimes we just sort of show landscaping on it to give an idea, but
yes,
not off of that.
It didn't have the detail with the species.
Oh yeah,
calipers.
No, yes, yeah.
Right.
This is the real landscape plan that
we're
basically going. And the real change since the last meeting was sort of, this side, we added a whole nother, level of landscaping to it. But, sort of the trees and the shrubbery and everything here is mainly stayed about the same.
Yes. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
The landscaping is what was reviewed by the DRC, because I know the DRC reviewed and approved, but, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone? Any further comments? Mr. Ching, anything further?
No.
Okay. We should also note, there was one other, in addition to getting the latest set of plans and responding to all the DRC comments, there was one other open point that we had talked about last time, which I think Mr. Taft had gone back to you on, which is the fact that, after consulting with the village attorney, he confirmed that Mr. Taft's determination that no Bronxville zoning variance was required for the minor encroachment in the rear of the property on the Tuckahoe side would be necessary. So that matter's been resolved, and no further action needs to be taken with respect to that.
And, looking at the overall planning as well, it doesn't go anywhere further than what the existing house is there now, too. There's a sort of bay sort of area cut. That's hard to see on that plan, but the existing house goes past that right now. So aesthetically, in the context of the, what's existing there now, we're not really going further than that as well.
Yes. Yeah, I should note for the record that, this is an unusual situation. There probably aren't many houses that are in the community that straddle the Tuckahoe and Bronxville border. So I think it's fair to say, and Mr. Taft can speak to this if he would like, that when the building official makes a determination of this type, it's made on a case-by-case basis. So the fact that he has determined that no Bronxville zoning variance is required with respect to this particular project doesn't mean that if there were to be another project coming forward in the future that happened to straddle the border between Bronxville and Tuckahoe, and there was an encroachment on the non-Bronxville side, that no Bronxville variance would be required. I think they need to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, that's correct. As you can see with this property, it's very unique in that there's a diagonal going across. It's a corner lot, and so there are always a lot of different factors that have to be looked at
Yes.
individually.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So,
I have no more questions about the design. I guess if I wanted to spend a little bit of time, now that we have a very comprehensive design plan, a little bit on the demolition and construction plan again. I've seen the other house further down has been constructed pretty quickly. Can you kind of help us understand how you plan on managing kind of trucks and staging during the construction, and kind of what your timeline is to completion?
Good evening. If we're talking a conceptual plan here, this is subject to plus or minus and weather and everything else, but it would take roughly 1 week to drop and remove the house. And then the foundation area would be prepared. And so it'll be a continuous flow, not dissimilar from the other house, because number one, we don't want the neighbors to look at an empty hole for a year, which in theory they could, and that's just not how we operate. So if you use the property up the street, the site is flawless. There's no garbage. It's graded. It's aesthetically appealing relative to having construction going on. So, like I said, the concept would be subject to availability of the concrete, subject to availability of getting the hole dug. There's some wiggle room there, but we don't want a hole sitting there because it's tough from a security standpoint, as well as from an aesthetic standpoint, and finally, just to be a good neighbor, you don't want to have that. So the objective is get in and get out relative to the foundation.
And what, when the hole is there, what security measures are taken, if any?
There's a locked fence surrounding the entire perimeter of the hole.
Got it.
And posted signs in English and in Spanish.
It's worth noting, with respect to your concern, that no demolition can take place until the detailed construction drawings have been approved by the building department. So it's not like, if we approve this tonight, that the demolition is going to take place and there's going to be a long time gap between the demolition and the construction. That's going to be quite a compressed, the demolition will take place and the construction would start immediately thereafter, I think it's fair to say.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And then estimated full time to completion is
Completion of?
Of the home completely.
Interior as well? Perfect world, 4 months. Perfect world.
Okay.
Again, there's a lot of nuances these days. It could take 12 weeks to get a garage door, but we'll order it in advance. I'm
just trying to understand brackets.
If you use the other house 2 blocks up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with the exception of the hardy plank on the exterior, the windows are in, they're framed, the doors are in, the roof is on, and that was done in roughly, 45 days-ish. So this is got to be good neighbors. That's the bottom line.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Taft.
I might also point out that work won't begin until Tuckahoe has issued a permit as well.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's a good point.
Basically simultaneously submit construction drawings.
Yes.
Tuckahoe and Bronxville, and if, they have to coexist together, can't have one approval without the other, basically.
Yes. Okay. If there are no other questions from the board, I would like to open the public hearing. Would any members of the public like to comment? Seeing no comments and no members of the public, I will therefore close the public hearing and turn to a discussion by the board. So what does everyone think? Time to make a decision. We've had ample opportunity to ask questions, get information. I should also, it's relevant to our discussion, obviously, that the Design Review Committee scrutinized the project very closely, provided very detailed feedback, and at their meeting last Wednesday, recommended that we approve the current rendition and project as submitted tonight. So also a relevant fact for our decision.
Yeah, just one comment here. I think the responsiveness of the applicant, and especially the willingness to open up the existing house to our inspection, I think has been very helpful.
I think for me, preserving the character design of the existing homes in the village is important. I think that being said, this was a very unique situation of a home, what was a home that was effectively converted into a commercial property that was left in a quite dilapidated state, and that the preservation of that home in its existing form would be very difficult. I think myself and my fellow board members were very thorough in reviewing the state of this existing home, understanding what would be required to bring it up to a livable single-family standard, and it seemed very difficult to do, if not impossible, especially with the facade. I recognize has some nice elements, but beyond the facade, I think it was very clear that over time the prior owner had made a variety of changes that no one would want in a existing house. And so I appreciate the applicant's work and sense of collaboration over the course of 3 meetings with us and the DRC, and receiving our feedback and continuing to revise it to a point where I think it's at a point where it will be value add to the community. I think the neighbors along that block are looking for welcoming a family that will come live there instead of having a dilapidated and empty house that's an eyesore. And I think it will be additive. So I'm inclined to support it based on that set of information.
Mr. Gold?
Let some others get their order in.
I agree with everything that's been said. I think they've been responsive. I think this is a really nice looking home that looks like it could be on a lot of different streets in Bronxville. So it fits in which
Yes.
I think is important also.
Yes.
Yep. And an improvement over what's there now.
I agree. I think you've been very thoughtful, and you've made a house that's going to fit in with the neighborhood, and it's going to be a great house. And it was pretty bad, the old one. So thanks for putting us, doing what we asked you to do and opening another house, and I'm in favor of going forward.
I agree with everything that's been said, and you've been very collaborative, and I think the house is going to be a great addition to the neighborhood.
Thank you. And I would agree with all of the sentiments expressed. I'm very sorry that that the house got into the shape that it got into, because it really is a beautiful old home. And had it been maintained properly over the years, like many of our historic homes in Bronxville are, it really would have been, it could have been a beautiful family home in its current form, but unfortunately, that was not the case. And if any, I think this will be a good addition to the street and to the community, but I hope this entire process has also been a lesson to people in Bronxville, frankly, that we have a lot of historic resources in our community, and as long as people take care of them and maintain them, they will maintain their value, and we will be able to preserve our historic resources. But if they are allowed to get into a state of disrepair, then that becomes very challenging, given the age and condition of some of these homes, just with the passage of time. So thank you for your presentation. Thank you for attending the last few months of meetings. Would someone like to make a motion to approve this application as it's currently submitted?
I'll move it. Yeah,
Mr. Goldman?
motion in favor.
Second?
Have a second? Mr. Ching, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion has passed. Project approved.
Really appreciate, the board's time. I know it's been, a few months, but I think, the house wouldn't have got to the state that it's in now, so with a lot of collaboration, it pays off, and it makes, better overall design, so
Yes.
again, appreciate the
Yep.
kind words as well for on this. Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next meeting is Wednesday, July 12th, and with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.